Two provinces, 32 kilometers apart, 5 hours to cross. The Philippines just decided that it's over. A $3.91 billion megabridge is being built across Manila Bay, and it's about to change Southeast Asia forever. The Philippines is made up of 7,641 islands. 7,641. That's not a country, that's a geography puzzle. And for centuries, that puzzle has been the single biggest reason why the Philippines, a nation of 115 million people, sitting at the crossroads of the world's busiest trade routes, has never fully unlocked its economic potential. In Germany, if a factory in Munich needs raw materials from Hamburg, a truck gets on the Autobahn and arrives in about 6 hours. No ferries, no tides, and weather delays. Just road. In the Philippines, moving goods between major economic zones can take days. Roads end at coastlines, ferries break down, typhoon season shuts everything down for weeks. And no place shows this better than Manila Bay. On the western side sits Bataan province, one of the Philippines' most important industrial zones, the Freeport area of Bataan, factories, shipyards, export businesses, thousands of workers. On the eastern side sits Cavite, a manufacturing powerhouse, semiconductor plants, industrial estates, and a direct connection to Metro Manila's economic engine. These two economic giants are separated by just 32 kilometers of open water, but without a direct link, every truck, shipment, and worker has to travel all the way around the bay, through Metro Manila, which has the worst traffic on the planet. 4 to 5 hours on a good day. That is the geography trap, and the Philippines has been living inside it for over 100 years. Now, here's where it gets incredible. The Bataan-Cavite Interlink Bridge, the BCIB, is the Philippines' answer to a 100-year-old problem. At 32.15 kilometers, it will be the longest sea-crossing bridge in Southeast Asia and the second longest bay bridge in the entire world. The Philippines, a developing nation still building its economic foundation, is about to construct a structure that belongs in the same conversation as Chai's Jiaozhou Bay Bridge and the Donghai Bridge. Imagine this, 32 kilometers. That's like stacking 70 soccer fields end to end, or driving from the center of Paris to its outermost suburbs entirely over open water. The bridge carries 4 lanes of traffic, everything from private cars to 40-ton cargo trucks, and it features 2 massive cable-stayed navigation bridges, a 400-meter north channel span and a 900-meter south channel span, engineered to let the largest cargo ships and tankers pass freely. Underneath, the price tag, $3.91 billion, makes it the single most expensive government-funded infrastructure project in Philippine history. Financed through a multi-tranche scheme. $2.1 billion from the Asian Development Bank, $1.14 billion from the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and $664 million from the Philippine government itself. Construction began in 2025. Completion is estimated between 2029 and 2030. But behind every number, there's a real person. The truck driver left Bataan at 3 a.m. to beat the ferry. The factory manager waiting on raw materials stuck at a closed bay crossing. The farmer watching his produce rot on a dock. For them, this bridge changes everything. Building a 32-kilometer bridge across an open bay anywhere in the world is a serious challenge. Building one here in the Philippines is in a different category entirely. Manila Bay sits directly in one of the most active typhoon corridors on Earth. Every year, an average of 20 tropical cyclones enter the Philippine area of responsibility. Some of the strongest ever recorded anywhere on the planet have crossed this region. Super Typhoon Yolanda, known internationally as Haiyan, killed more than 6,300 people in 2013. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center recorded sustained winds of 315 kilometers per hour at landfall, making it, at the time, the strongest tropical cyclone ever observed on Earth. Any bridge built in these waters must be engineered to survive forces that would destroy most ordinary structures. The BCIB engineers are fighting 4 enemies simultaneously. First, wind. The bridge deck and pylons must resist sustained winds strong enough to flip heavy trucks. The superstructure uses the same aerodynamic deck technology as Japan's Akashi Kaikyo Bridge, one of the most extreme weather-rated structures ever built. Second, earthquakes. The Philippines sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire. Foundation pilings are being driven through more than 50 meters of water and soft seabed sediment to reach stable bedrock below. Third, ships. Manila Bay is one of Southeast Asia's busiest shipping lanes. The 2 navigation spans, 400 and 900 meters wide, are designed specifically so that even the largest commercial vessels never have to slow down. Fourth, the sea itself. Salt water corrodes steel faster than almost anything else on Earth. The BCIB uses high-performance weathering steel and advanced anti-corrosion coatings built to last over 100 years. At peak construction, thousands of Filipino workers will be active simultaneously across 7 contract packages, land approaches on both sides of the bay, marine viaducts stretching across open water, and the 2 great cable-stayed bridges flanking historic Corregidor Island. Engineers, welders, marine specialists, crane operators, all building what is, without question, the most technically complex infrastructure project this country has ever attempted. Right now, routing everything around Manila Bay adds enormous cost to every product made in Bataan. That cost gets swallowed by businesses, passed on to consumers, and quietly bleeds economic growth out of the entire region year after year. The day the bridge opens, that stops. The AIIB has estimated the economic rate of return on this project at more than 25%. In the world of infrastructure investment, that number is exceptional. But the impact runs much deeper than cheaper logistics. When travel time between Bataan and Cavite collapses from 5 hours to 45 minutes, a chain reaction starts. Land values rise, new businesses move in, workers commute instead of relocate. Manufacturers choose Bataan because they can now tap directly into Cavite's supply chains. And the bridge completes what planners call the Manila Bay Loop, a full ring road connecting central Luzon and southern Luzon without touching Metro Manila's gridlock. That alone saves billions in logistics costs every single year. Look at who is actually paying for this bridge. The Asian Development Bank, headquartered in Manila, is putting in $2.1 billion. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, founded by China, headquartered in Beijing, is co-financing another $1.14 billion. The Philippine government covers the rest. The AIIB has over 100 member countries, but China founded it. China holds its largest voting share, and its headquarters sits in Beijing. So while this bridge is Filipino-conceived and Filipino-led, the financing picture is more layered than it first appears. The Philippines is threading a needle that every developing nation in this region knows well: attract the capital needed to build generational infrastructure, while carefully managing relationships with institutions whose influence across Southeast Asia is growing fast. In a region where infrastructure and geopolitics have become impossible to separate, that balancing act matters enormously. The Bataan-Cavite Interlink Bridge is not being built alone. It is the first link in something far more ambitious. At the heart of the government's Build Better More program sits a pipeline of 12 inter-island mega-bridge projects, totaling over $12 billion, designed to physically stitch this archipelago together for the first time in its history. Luzon to the Visayas to Mindanao. Island economies connected into one unbroken corridor of commerce. If fully realized, it would rank among the greatest engineering achievements in human history. A nation of 7,641 islands, functionally unified. But the BCIB is the test. Deliver it on time, budget, performing as promised, and it proves the model works. It proves the Philippines can execute world-class mega infrastructure, and it opens the door to everything that comes next. But if it stumbles, delays, cost overruns, corruption, it risks setting the entire inter-island vision back by a generation. This bridge carries a question that goes far beyond engineering. The Philippines has one of the most persistent wealth gaps in Southeast Asia. Metro Manila generates vast economic output, but provinces like Bataan still carry poverty rates that decades of promises have failed to move. Infrastructure has never automatically fixed inequality. History is full of mega-projects that reshaped geography but left the people beside them exactly where they started. The real measure of the Bataan-Cavite Interlink Bridge won't be found in engineering reports. It will determine whether the farmer in Bataan finally gets a fair price for his crops. The factory worker in Cavite gets to go home at night. The next generation of Filipinos inherits a country that geography no longer holds hostage. 32 kilometers of steel and concrete, 30 years of unfulfilled promises. One nation betting that this time it's different. The Bataan-Cavite Interlink Bridge is the beginning of the Philippines' greatest era of growth, or another chapter in a long history of megaprojects that promised everything and delivered something far more complicated. But here's the question nobody is asking yet. If this bridge works and the 1-2 bridge inter-island network starts taking shape, who really controls the economic corridors it creates? The Filipino government, private conglomerates, the multilateral banks that funded it, one of which ultimately answers to Beijing? Because history tells us one thing very clearly: whoever builds the road usually decides who gets to use it. And if this kind of story keeps you up at night, watch this next. Vietnam just built a railway that is scaring China, and the reasons tell you everything about where this region is heading. It's right there. Vietnam just built a railway that scares China. Here's why.